Yeah, well, you have it's a collection of great stories. And part of the good fortune of your life is to have had those experiences that transform themselves into compelling stories without, what would you say, without undue editing. The African story, for example, the dream story, that was quite remarkable. For me, that was a highlight of the book, I would say, where you related the dream you had, a recurring dream, or at least one that recurred twice, and on the basis of that dream, voyaged to South America and to Africa. Is that? I hope I've got that right.
The second time I had the dream, which was the exact same dream, 11 frames, 11 seconds. The second time I had it is when I chased down the first half of the dream, which was South America. I thought I'd finished it. Then 5 years after that, I had the dream for the third time, which made me say, I got to chase down the second half, which was there were African tribesmen on the banks of the river to the left. And that's when I went to Africa.
Any idea why? I mean, you staked a lot on the pursuit of a dream. And I mean, maybe we could say that's the motif of your book, that you staked a lot on the pursuit of a dream, but it's much more concrete in that episode. You had an actual dream, a literal nighttime dream that recurred. And as a consequence of that, you took a large risk, or a series of risks. Merely going to Africa was a risk, I would say, and not something that would be expected. It's quite out of the ordinary to do that, obviously.
Well, I've had dreams that are similar to each other, but it's the only dream I've ever had that one was so specifically, I mean, it was exact. When I say 11 frames, I mean like film frames. Picture 1, 2, 3, or 11 seconds. The exact same frames, exact same editing sequence in my mind, 11 seconds, that ended in such a, I don't know if ironic's the right word, it was the elements of a nightmare, but it was the opposite of a nightmare. It was a wet dream. Mm-hmm. And so the fact that it was the exact same dream that I've had once in 92, again in 96. Whoa, I had that twice. That's the first shakeup. Well, that was the exact same dream I had 4 years ago. Exactly. First time that's ever happened. Oh, maybe that's a celestial suggestion here. Something is telling me.
What do you think you specifically learned in pursuit of that? And have you had the dream again? My guess would be no, that you probably exhausted it, but I might be wrong.
No, I have not. To this point, it seems that I fulfilled the dream in the trip to Africa, which was the two elements of the dream. One was the Amazon River, one were African tribes. Those are the two geographic elements that I knew that were crystal clear in the dream. So that's why I went to South America. That's why I went Mali. I have not had it again. I mean, I'll say this. I'm always looking for a good reason to go for a walkabout. So I found a really good reason, a concrete reason there. And why were they wet dreams? There was nothing overtly sexual about them. There was, so they were, spiritual in that way is how I took them. Now in Mali, I can say, and I've been back to Mali. I went back to Mali, as I write about in the book, 5 years later after I fulfilled the dream. Not because I had the dream again, just because Mali, I've never felt more at home in a place than Mali. Now you're in certain places, you're like, I've been here before. The gravity here is right. I've been here before. Whether it's another life, I don't know. But Mali was where I felt, this is home. This was the original home. I've been here. And so that's what we went back. So that's my favorite place to go. And I've been back and did the exact same trip I did when I chased down the second half of the dream.
And you shed your identity to a great degree when you went to Africa.
Yeah.
And so that may enable you to exist in a way that would be much unlike the manner in which you have to exist where people know where you are or who you are. What do you think that did for you? Like the dream, you took this dream quest, let's say, and you paid a price for it. The risk would be the price. Mm-hmm. What was the consequence of allowing yourself to do that?
That it was on me, that it was my doing. I could own it at a time of becoming famous. You go through, at least I did, and still do at times, go through, wait a minute, what's mine? What am I getting based off of my worth as the man I am, as the person I am? Forget my fame. And it becomes challenging. I want to know, what is it's real? What is it not? How many of those I love yous are meant, or how many of them were just following because I just had a big box office hit? And wait a minute, the person that I've had dinner with their kids and spent Christmases with, who have shared I love yous and hugs, then now I have 2 movies that didn't do well and that person won't return my call. Wait a minute. What all matters? What do I want to do? What are we doing here? So,
if you have a reputation that has a life of its own, it becomes very difficult to distinguish between yourself and that reputation.
Sure.
And that's one of the pitfalls of fame. And lots of times you see people sacrifice themselves to their reputation. You see celebrities becoming impersonators of themselves.
Yes.
And it's a tragic fate, I would say. And
well, that's when you go, who's wagging who? I've never wanted my fame to wag me. I mean, like, no. I understand I got famous because of who, to whatever extent, because of who I am. And what did I do? I
could see in the book that you were snapping yourself out of your fame, even while you were doing things like the motorhome adventures, because you were living a life that certainly wasn't what I expected to read, that you would voluntarily abandon what so many people value as like the pinnacle of cultural achievement, say at the popular level, and shed all that and set out like any person who doesn't have that.
Right. Well, what I was like, for instance, in the South American trip, and it happened in the Mali trips and all the walkabouts, I needed to go to a place where I'd just become famous too. I mean, my world was like, all of a sudden, all the options were mine. Mm-hmm. And 2 days before, none of those options were there. And now it was a world of yes. And I'm going, I only got 24 hours in a day and I would do any of this work. And you're now telling me I can do it all?
Yeah.
You're asking me to be discerning right now? And again, I went away to go, I need to go where someone doesn't know my name. I need to go away where no one's seen my movies. I want to go where there's no electricity. I want to go someplace where those hugs and tears when I say goodbye 22 days later are based only off of the man they met 22 days ago.